So usually, when someone hands you a map, there is a very specific built-in expectation.
Oh, for sure. You expect direction.
Right. You unfold it,
Right.
and you expect to see the roads drawn out in these thick, unmistakable lines.
Mhm.
You expect a little red, "You are here," dot, and maybe, I don't know, a bright, obvious arrow pointing precisely to your destination.
Yeah, it's the comfort of the pre-calculated route. I mean, we want the GPS voice telling us exactly when to turn and when to merge.
Hmm.
It's about essentially removing the entire cognitive burden of navigation off our shoulders so we can just, operate on autopilot.
I have to admit, when I opened the file that you, our listener, sent us for today's deep dive, I actually thought my PDF reader was broken.
Really, just didn't load.
Yeah, I was scrolling, looking for the rest of the document, because the source material you provided is literally just a title and a single question.
Wow.
It's a map with absolutely nothing on it but a giant, glaring question mark right in the dead center.
Which is honestly an incredibly bold way to prompt a discussion. I mean, it strips away all the usual hand-holding we've come to expect from informational texts.
It totally does. So welcome to you, our listener, to today's custom-tailored deep dive. The excerpt you sent us is titled Essential Habits for Growth in 2026.
A very heavy title.
Right. Normally, a title like that is the setup for a massive listicle, like a 10-step manual or some comprehensive breakdown of exactly what you should be doing with your mornings, your investments, and your diet.
Right, the typical internet advice column.
Exactly. But instead, the entirety of what you sent us is just 9 words. What are the 5 essential habits for growth in 2026? That is the entire text. No bullet points, no answers, just the prompt.
You know, in an era where we are constantly drowning in these universal prescriptions for success, where literally every feed is packed with people eager to tell you exactly how to live, what this text omits is actually far more profound than what it includes.
Yeah, once I got over my initial confusion about the missing pages, I realized what a brilliant trap the author set for us.
A trap. How so?
Well, our mission today isn't to invent answers that aren't there. We aren't going to sit here and just pull 5 random habits out of thin air and pretend that's what the author secretly intended for you to do.
No, that would deceive the whole purpose.
Exactly. Instead, we're going to dissect why this specific question, constrained by these exact words, is the ultimate blueprint for your own personal or professional development.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we really have to look at how the human brain processes information.
Okay.
When you are handed a list of answers, your brain effectively shuts off. You consume the list, you might agree or disagree with a few points, and then you just move on.
Right. You just swipe to the next thing.
Exactly. The cognitive friction is practically zero, but a well-crafted question, especially one without an answer key, demands synthesis. It forces you to pause, internalize the prompt, and actively comb through your own lived experience to formulate a response.
It shifts you from being a passive consumer to an active creator.
Pres-
Okay, let's unpack this, because even though we only have 9 words here, they're doing a massive amount of heavy lifting. Let's look at the anatomy of this question, starting with the word habits.
A very intentional choice.
Very. The author didn't ask for your goals, they didn't ask for your resolutions, and crucially, they didn't ask for hacks.
Oh, the distinction between a hack and a habit is, well, it's the difference between a Band-Aid and a biological upgrade.
I love that, because I really want to challenge what modern culture is constantly selling us right now. I mean, if you look anywhere online, we are completely obsessed with the idea of hacks.
Oh, absolutely. Productivity hacks, biohacks, growth hacks.
Right. And a hack fundamentally implies a shortcut. It implies a secret backdoor to success that somehow bypasses the actual work.
And the promise is always that if you just, I don't know, download the right app or find the right trick for your morning routine, you'll suddenly achieve all your dreams with minimal effort.
Exactly. But a habit is entirely different. I was thinking about this, and I want to run an analogy by you.
Sure, let's hear it.
Are habits essentially the compound interest of self-improvement?
Oh, that's a solid analogy. But we can actually take it a step further into the physical mechanics of the brain.
Okay, lay it on me.
So when you try to, quote unquote, hack your way to a result, you are relying heavily on your prefrontal cortex.
That's the front part of the brain, right?
Yes, that's the part responsible for executive function, decision-making, and willpower. But the problem is, the prefrontal cortex burns an immense amount of energy. It tires out really quickly.
So that's why your elaborate new productivity hack usually falls apart by, like, Thursday afternoon?
Because your battery is literally drained. You've run out of the willpower required to sustain the shortcut.
Wow. Okay, so how are habits different neurologically?
Well, a habit operates in a completely different neural neighborhood. When a behavior is repeated enough times, the brain physically wires it into the basal ganglia.
The basal ganglia.
Right, which is a much older, more primitive, and highly efficient part of the brain. It wraps those neural pathways in myelin.
Wait, myelin? What's that do?
It acts like insulation on a copper wire, basically making the signal travel faster and faster. So once a behavior is transferred to the basal ganglia, it requires almost zero conscious energy to execute. It becomes as automatic as tying your shoes.
Oh, wow. So when the source deliberately anchors the concept of growth to habits, it's basically telling us to stop relying on our finite willpower.
Yes. What's fascinating here is that the author is framing growth not as a target you hit, but as a byproduct of a machine you build.
A byproduct. I like that.
Growth, whether biological or professional, is never an overnight leap. If you focus on building the automated neural pathways, the habits, the growth, becomes the natural, inevitable exhaust of just running your daily operating system.
I hear you on the neurological efficiency of habits, totally. But let me play devil's advocate for a second here.
Go for it.
In 2026, everything is moving incredibly fast. Industries are being reshaped by AI almost overnight. Doesn't locking yourself into habits make you rigid?
That's a fair point. Like, shouldn't we be prioritizing extreme adaptability and flexibility over automated routines? If I'm running on autopilot, aren't I just going to crash into a wall that wasn't there yesterday?
You know, that's a highly relevant concern for the current landscape, but it actually reveals a pretty common misconception about what an essential habit actually looks like.
Okay, how so?
A habit does not have to be a rigid, easily outdated task like, I will write exactly 50 cold emails every morning using this specific software.
Right, because the software might be obsolete tomorrow.
Exactly. That's a routine vulnerable to disruption. An essential habit in a volatile environment is more of a framework.
Give me an example.
It could be, I will dedicate 45 minutes every day to deep, uninterrupted learning of a new concept. The action itself, the habit of carving out focused learning time, is rigid and automated. But the content of what you are learning is pure adaptability.
Ah, I see. So the container is fixed, but the liquid inside can change based on the environment. You are essentially automating the process of adaptation. Precisely. You are using the basal ganglia's efficiency to guarantee that the uncomfortable work of adapting actually gets done every single day.
That completely flips the script. It makes the question feel so much more foundational. And actually, speaking of foundations, this leads us right into the specific constraints the source places on this growth.
Right.
It doesn't just ask, what are your habits? It places a very precise, unyielding quantity on the inquiry.
The numerical constraint. This is where the architecture of the question really shows its teeth.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The question explicitly asks for the 5 essential habits.
Just 5.
Okay, but let's be real. 5 sounds a bit arbitrary, doesn't it? It feels like one of those neat round numbers we use just because it fits perfectly on a slide deck or like an Instagram carousel.
It does have that marketing ring to it.
Yeah, why not just one massive keystone habit? I mean, if I completely fix my sleep, for example, everything else, my focus, my health, my emotional regulation, gets better downstream. Telling someone to tackle 5 distinct habits in 1 year still sounds like a fast track to cognitive overload.
Well, if the goal of the prompt was merely getting out of a rut, I might actually agree with you. A single keystone habit is an excellent triage strategy.
Okay.
But look at the specific wording of your source. It asks for habits for growth.
Growth.
Growth implies a multidimensional expansion of your life. While fixing your sleep is absolutely critical, it alone will not automatically teach you a new language or repair a broken relationship or, restructure your financial portfolio.
Fair point. One pillar can't hold up a 5-room house, but then why stop at 5? If growth is multidimensional, why not 10 habits? Why not 20?
This brings us back to cognitive load and a concept in psychology known as decision fatigue. It's been heavily researched by scientists like Roy Baumeister.
Right, decision fatigue.
Yeah. We talked about how habits save willpower, but building a new habit costs an enormous amount of upfront willpower before it becomes automated. The human capacity for simultaneous behavioral modification is highly finite.
Meaning, if I wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m., run 5 miles, learn French, invest in stocks, call my parents daily, meditate for an hour, and only eat kale.
Your brain is going to short circuit by noon.
Yeah, pretty much.
It absolutely will. You will experience what's called ego depletion. Your prefrontal cortex will simply shut down from the effort of suppressing your old behaviors in 20 different directions at once.
So 5 is the magic number.
5 represents a psychological Goldilocks zone. It is small enough that you can hold all 5 concepts in your active working memory without feeling overwhelmed.
Like you can fit them on a single index card.
Exactly. But it is large enough to encompass a truly holistic approach to your life.
So it's a built-in mechanism for ruthless prioritization. You literally have to look at the massive buffet of all the possible things you could improve and forcefully push 99% of them off the table.
It forces you to categorize. With exactly 5 slots, you might assign, say, 1 habit to physical vitality, 1 to mental clarity, 1 to professional skill acquisition, 1 to relational depth, and maybe 1 to financial defense.
Right.
By restricting the quantity, the source prevents you from diluting your effort. It focuses scattered light into a concentrated beam.
I love that visual. And once we've narrowed our focus to those 5 specific beams, the author hits us with the next major constraint, the temporal one. In 2026.
The time frame.
Now, it would be easy to read that and just think, well, yeah, that's the current year. But the fact that the author anchored this entirely abstract concept of growth to the immediate present is doing something very specific to the listener, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It completely eliminates the illusion of someday. Notice that the question does not ask, what are the essential habits for growth in your lifetime? It doesn't even ask about the next 5 years.
Right, because if someone asks me about my habits for the next decade, I can easily rationalize putting it off. I can say, well, I'll focus on my health in year 3, and I'll focus on my career pivot in year 4. I've got plenty of time.
Yes.
A 10-year timeline gives your brain a built-in, culturally acceptable excuse to just procrastinate today.
Exactly. By anchoring the inquiry strictly to 2026, it demands an acute awareness of your immediate context.
Yeah.
But I think there is a deeper layer here, too. Let's look at the mechanics of why 2026 actually matters.
Okay.
If you were answering this exact prompt back in, say, 2016, your answers would likely be vastly different than they are today.
Oh, totally. I mean, in 2016, we were in the absolute peak of hustle culture. The essential habits back then were all about maximizing output. How do I work 80 hours a week without sleeping? How do I code the next big app in my garage? It was all about relentless brute force addition.
But our environmental demands have shifted dramatically since then. In 2026, we are operating in a landscape completely saturated with hyperconnectivity, remote work maturity, and the deep, deep integration of generative AI into our daily lives.
It's a totally different world.
It is. The premium is no longer on brute force output because, frankly, machines can generate output. The premium is now on discernment, deep focus, and emotional intelligence.
So the habits required to thrive, or even just survive, have fundamentally mutated. If your essential habit in 2016 was always be online and responsive, your essential habit in 2026 might actually be scheduled 2 hours of aggressively disconnected airplane mode every day just to hear yourself think.
Exactly. The biological mechanism of habit formation hasn't changed since 2016, but the environmental cognitive load has skyrocketed. The temporal constraint of 2026 forces you to look out your window right now and ask, what is required of me in this specific economy with these specific technological pressures at this specific stage of my life?
It really grounds what could be a philosophical exercise into immediate tactical reality. And this is where the final, arguably most intimidating word of the prompt comes into play.
Which word is that?
The author didn't ask for good habits. They didn't ask for helpful habits or healthy habits. They specifically demanded the essential habits.
Ah, yes. This raises a crucial question about how we define the baseline of our own lives. The word essential completely alters the stakes of the inquiry.
It really does. Because, helpful implies an accessory. Like, it would be helpful if I drank more water, but essential implies bedrock.
It implies that without these specific 5 habits, your growth in 2026 is not merely slowed down, it is fundamentally compromised. It suggests a structural dependency.
Like a load-bearing wall.
Precisely. If you are building a bridge, the paint color is a choice, but the steel pylons are essential. The author is challenging the listener to identify the absolute non-negotiables in their daily routine.
I'm trying to picture what that filtration process actually looks like. If you had to strip away all the nice-to-haves, all the trendy morning routines you see influencers doing, how do you actually determine what is genuinely essential for you?
You have to stress test your own behaviors.
How so?
You ask yourself, if my schedule completely blows up tomorrow, If I am under extreme stress, what is the absolute minimum framework I must maintain to keep my trajectory positive?
Oh, wow.
If skipping a behavior for a week causes your mental clarity to collapse, that behavior is essential. If skipping it just makes you feel slightly guilty but has no structural impact, it is merely helpful.
It's a brutal filtration system, but a necessary one. The question acts as a tool to help you tune out the deafening noise of everyone else telling you what you quote-unquote should be doing.
Yes, exactly.
It forces you to drill down into the absolute bedrock of what is required for you right now in this specific year. It shifts the dynamic entirely. You aren't being lectured to by a guru. You're being challenged by the silence on the page.
Which perfectly encapsulates the ultimate function of this text. The author has provided you with a beautifully constructed architectural framework. They have given you the precise dimensions of the building, 5 pillars.
Right.
They have given you the purpose of the building growth, and they have given you the location and the timeline, the current landscape of 2026.
But they deliberately left the actual blueprint completely blank.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, who brought us this deceptively simple source material? It means that the true value of what you sent us is that it operates entirely as a mirror. It refuses to spoon-feed you a one-size-fits-all solution because logically, a universal solution for growth simply cannot exist.
No, it can't. The required habits for, say, a junior software engineer in Tokyo navigating a corporate hierarchy will share almost no overlap with the habits required for a freelance writer in London or a new parent in Buenos Aires trying to maintain their sanity.
They're completely different lives.
Completely. By withholding the what, the text forces you to deeply interrogate the who.
You are the missing puzzle piece to your own source material. The blank space immediately following that question mark is a direct invitation for you to actively take the reins.
You have to fill it in.
You have to step into that void. We spent this entire deep dive looking at the brilliant container the author built, the neurological advantage of automated habits over fleeting hacks, the ruthless psychological prioritization demanded by the number 5, the urgent, volatile reality of the year 2026, and the uncompromising nature of the word essential.
The structure of the prompt is undeniably solid, but a structure without a foundation laid by the individual who will actually inhabit it is just an empty shell. The question is doing exactly what a profound piece of philosophy is designed to do. It shifts the cognitive burden and the ultimate responsibility back onto the reader.
It's handing the pen back to you. You are the only one who can write the list. But as you set out to write that list, to define those 5 keystones for your own life this year, there's one final angle to this that I just can't stop thinking about.
What's that?
Well, we've talked about how this question forces prioritization, how it filters out the noise, how it adapts to the chaos of 2026.
Right, it serves as a potent daily tool for self-calibration.
Which leaves me with this final thought for you to carry with you today. You are looking for the 5 essential habits for growth in 2026. You're going to sit down, look at your life, and map them out. But what if the most crucial habit of those 5, the very first one you need to cultivate, the absolute bedrock of your entire mental architecture, isn't a physical action at all?
Oh, that's interesting.
What if the most essential habit for your growth in 2026 is simply the daily, relentless habit of asking yourself this exact question over and over again?